According to a Chinese leak on Weibo, Apple's apparently locked in mass production plans for the iPhone 17e, with manufacturing set to begin after CES, and that wording matters because CES wrapped up in early Jan, which means by the time you're watching this, the 17e is either already in production or about to be. This isn't some distant concept phone, this is a product Apple's actively building right now. And the headline changes? A pill-shaped dynamic island instead of the notch, and Apple's latest A19 chipset, albeit in a slightly trimmed configuration. Nothing wild, nothing headline grabbing, but very deliberate upgrades that tell us a lot about what Apple thinks the E-series should actually be. Before we get into the details, quick interruption, around 90% of you guys watching still are not subscribed, which is impressive levels of commitment avoidance, so if you enjoy this kind of breakdown of leaks, supply chain logic and Apple doing Apple things, hit subscribe, it generally helps a small channel like mine keep going. So context first, the iPhone 16e launched with a notch. In 2025, it looks like an iPhone 13 that accidentally wandered onto the wrong stage. It also used an A18 chipset with one fewer GPU core than the standard iPhone 16, not bad performance-wise, but very clearly positioned as you can have speed, but just not all of it. According to Smart Pikachu, that changes with the iPhone 17e. The notch is reportedly gone, replaced by the dynamic island. That alone is a massive deal because it instantly drags the 17e into the modern iPhone era. The dynamic island isn't just cosmetic anymore, it's become a part of how iOS works, showing live activities, navigation, music playback, timers, and the occasional application that remembers it's a thing in the first place. Removing the notch finally makes the E-series feel like it belongs in Apple's current design language. This isn't just a brand new claim either. Digital Chat Station had previously suggested the same thing, which makes it feel less like a one-off rumor and more like a plan that's been quietly agreed on behind the scenes. The chip is the other big piece. The iPhone 17 is expected to use the A19 chipset, but with one fewer GPU core compared to the standard iPhone 17, similar to the iPhone 16e. For the vast majority of people, that difference won't make a drastic impact at all. Day-to-day performance, gaming, camera processing, and general responsiveness will still feel fast. More importantly, using the latest generation chipset means this phone is set up for years of software support. And this is where Apple's actually been quite sensible. They could have dropped in all the silicon to save money, but matching the generation of the main iPhone series means 17e won't feel outdated in 2 or 3 years. Longevity is part of the pitch here, even if Apple never says that out loud. Display-wise, expectations need to stay realistic. The 17e is expected to use a 6.1-inch OLED with a 60Hz refresh rate, and yes, the $799 iPhone 17 does have ProMotion, which tells you exactly what Apple's doing here. High refresh rates are a deliberate upsell feature. If you want smoother scrolling and animations, Apple wants you to pay more and move up the range. It's not a technical limitation, it's segmentation. There's also been confusion around which OLED panel Apple's actually using. One rumor suggests the 17 is going to stick with an iPhone 14 based OLED display but with slimmer bezels. If that was true, the notch would technically have to stay, but that explanation doesn't really hold up when you look at Apple's supply chain. Apple's already mass producing 6.1-inch OLED displays with slimmer bezels and dynamic island for the iPhone 16. They're still selling them. Reusing that panel is cheaper, simpler, and more logical than reviving older notch hardware, which is why, even if reports don't spell this out clearly, everything points towards 17e finally ditching the notch. That doesn't mean it'll blur the line with the higher end models. Bezels will still be thicker than the iPhone 17 series, brightness won't be as high, and the overall look is going to remain familiar. This is Apple walking the tightrope of making the phone feel modern without threatening anything above it. Charging is another area where Apple seems to have learned its lesson. The iPhone 16e launched without MagSafe, which still feels like one of the strangest decisions Apple made last year. MagSafe has been standard since the iPhone 12 in 2020, so removing it always felt like cost cutting for the sake of cost cutting. Thankfully, multiple rumors now suggest the iPhone 17 is going to add a magnetic ring for proper MagSafe support. Whether that's capped at 15 watts or pushed higher like the iPhone 17 series remains to be seen, but honestly, just having MagSafe back at all makes the phone feel far more complete. Connectivity is where Apple seems undecided. Leaked Apple code suggests the 17e is going to use Apple's C1X modem, an evolution of the C1 found in the 16e. That part makes sense. What's more questionable is the apparent omission of the N1 wireless chipset. Without it, the 17e may lack Thread support, which could limit its usefulness in smart home setups. Now yes, most buyers won't really care about that, but it does reinforce Apple's habit of quietly reserving the full experience for more expensive models, while the E-series gets something that's almost there, just missing 1 or 2 invisible features. Camera-wise, Apple is keeping things simple. A single 40 megapixel rear camera, no ultra-wide, no telephoto. And honestly, that's fine. Apple's computational photography is strong enough now that one good sensor can outperform mid-range phones with multiple cameras added purely for marketing. The front camera, however, is expected to see a nice upgrade. The 17 is tipped to inherit the newer front-facing camera from the standard iPhone 17 with better quality and improved framing, better selfies, better video calls, and fewer moments where you realize half your head is out of frame. Small change, but one you'll notice immediately. Design tweaks should also make the phone more comfortable to use. Rounded edges similar to the iPhone 15 replace the harsher slab sides of the iPhone 14 era, combined with slimmer bezels and a brighter OLED, potentially up to 2000 nits outdoors, and the 17e should feel lighter, cleaner, and more refined, even if it's still recognizably an E-series iPhone. Timing is where this leak gets especially interesting. Smart Pikachu says mass production begins after CES, which lines up perfectly with a spring launch window. March or April feels likely, roughly a year after the iPhone 16e released, and because production is starting now, this isn't a speculative device anymore, it's locked in. Pricing is expected to stay the same, $599 in the US, £599 here in the UK. That immediately raises an interesting question though. When the 17e launches, Apple will almost certainly discount the 16e to $499, and I'm genuinely curious to see whether the cheaper 16e ends up stealing sales away from the 17e. For a lot of people who just want the basic iPhone experience, saving $100 might matter more than Dynamic Island or MagSafe. Storage is another area I'm still unsure about. There's been some speculation about 256 gigs of base storage, but Apple is very protective of its segmentation. With the standard iPhone 16 sitting above it at 128 gigs, I'm not convinced Apple suddenly gets generous here. I'd still expect 128 gigs as the starting point, with higher tiers costing extra. So where does that leave us with the iPhone 17e overall? Honestly, it does feel far more complete with the upgrades being rumoured. Dynamic Island, MagSafe, newer silicon, a better front camera, and a more refined design all fix the biggest complaints people had about the 16e. The only major omission that still stands out is promotion. But ultimately, I'm not convinced these upgrades alone justify the awkward position the 17e sits in, because let's be honest, you've got many other options around this price. You either get a discounted 16e for less and get the basic iPhone experience, or you can pay a bit more and get the iPhone 17, which is more well-rounded with promotion and fewer compromises, and then you have refurbished iPhone 16s, which might undercut the 17e price-wise while offering more features. That said, the iPhone 16e still ended up being the 4th best-selling iPhone globally in the last quarter, so clearly there is an audience for this category. Based on that alone, the 17e is probably going to be relatively popular as well. It's not exciting, it's not bold, but it's logical, and for Apple, that's often more than enough. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe and hit the hype button, it generally helps the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.